Hi, I want to talk to you about the 7 fundamentals of business startups and what I call young businesses. Now, statistically, 90% of businesses fail in the first 5 years, and all I can say is that I've been doing this for 16 years, and 90% of the businesses I've worked with are either still flourishing right now or they have been sold successfully. So what I believe the difference is getting what I call the 7 fundamentals of business in place when you start a business. When you're a young business, you need to get these 7 things aligned. So what are they? Well, the one that I'm going to be speaking on at the forthcoming event is called direction and mindset. So I'll come back to that one. But that is the foundation, and everything is then built on that foundation. The second item to look at is your idea, the product or service idea that you have, and to really get clear about what it is and what value it adds to who. Whether it's solving a problem for someone or whether it's providing some other benefit to them. The third item is the market, understanding the market. So this is really compulsory research required. You can't skip this one. What is the demand potential? What does your research show you is the actual demand for such a product in the market right now? Or if it's a new innovative product, what is the potential demand for it? The fourth area is margins. Margins are something that a lot of people fall over on. I don't know if you've ever watched an episode of Dragon's Den, but it's almost embarrassing how many times people stumble with their numbers and aren't sure of them. You really have to know them. You have to know what are the actual realistic margins for your product, even if you're not currently producing it, even if you're not currently delivering the service, if it's in concept. You need to get a really good handle on what are the margins. Really basic stuff, expenditures and not optimistic expenditures, realistic expenditures minus realistic revenues. The fifth area is capability, and this is an area where people can fall over because they don't, when they start out, ask themselves, what resource capability do we have to deliver this product or service? And that then leads on to number 6, which is related to this, which is scalability. And we have to look at so many things here, but it's based on your resources, on your financial resources, your production, your suppliers, and of course your talent, people. And it's a big one. You also have to look at, with scalability, what systems you have in place. You can't grow a business, scale a business without really efficient, effective systems in place. And most people might know a lot about their business sector, but they're not really clued up on how to create an effective system within a business, systems and processes. And then number 7, last but not least, is the risks. And the ones I've all gone through are kind of more opportunity focused. You have to balance that with the risks. And by nature, a lot of the entrepreneurs I work with are optimistic in nature, and you need to be. However, you need to have people on your team who are going to assess the risks, who are going to look at the downsides. Risks are essentially your potential risks, your liabilities, and a whole variety of potential challenges. So we include things like competitor risks, technology and innovation risks. I've seen businesses where the products or service they're going to distribute is under threat from new emerging technology. It's something you really have to look at now with the emergence of AI and various other things. We've got financial risks. You've got to look at everything from what is the return on investment for your investors to looking at the profile of your investors, what are their expectations. You've got to look at liquidity and cash flow. This is an area which really trips people up. You've got to factor in capital depreciation if you've got a lot of assets. And ultimately, you've got to know your numbers, as I've already alluded to. let's look at some other things. So legal risks is a really big one. You've got contractual risks, trademark risks. That's one that's got me before. Regulations and other barriers to entry. You've got to look at your products and services risks, your production costs, supply risks, industry regulations and compliance. And we've already mentioned, in terms of capability, you've got to look at your resources, and there are risks there. Do you have the talent availability, and not just now, but in terms of scaling, is there a talent pool available? And what are the costs of taking on that talent? What are your plans and strategies to mitigate these risks is the big question you then have to end that with. Each one of these things we look at, what are your plans and strategies to mitigate? It's critical to get all of that. So I've done a very quick run through. There's much more detail in each of these elements that I've flushed out, but I've hopefully given you a really good starting point. And if we just go back to number one, which is what I'm speaking at the forthcoming event, it's about direction. So what's direction about? Direction is about mindset and leadership. What is your vivid, inspiring and purposeful vision that is actually going to get you out of bed in the mornings, and not only get you out of bed and inspire you, but inspire the other people in your team members, your suppliers and the other people that you work with? What is your big why? If your why isn't big enough, it's not gonna work. It really isn't. You've got to have a big why. Now, we also need to look at things like how clear you are about your core values. And people think values are some kind of nice to have thing that you might do when you're doing a branding exercise. It's everything. It's everything, because your values are what add value to your clients. That is the business. So many clients that I've worked with realize that there are a number of competitors that their clients could be going to, but when you really drill down to it, those clients are doing business with them for a whole variety of different values. So maybe they're very good listeners, maybe they're incredibly innovative. Whatever the reasons are, your clients will come to you because of your values, and you can't fake your values. So knowing your values is absolutely critical. I'm also going to talk with you about how from those values you can map out your vision, your goals, and then of course once you've got those mapped out, what are your strategies for achieving those goals? Now the key thing here is about prioritization. This is where so many people go wrong. They don't know what the priorities are. They're not clear. That comes from having clarity of your purpose, your vision and your mission and your goals. Once you have clarity on those, you then apply the 80-20 rule, which I'll talk about in more detail. So you focus on the 20% of whatever you need to do to get 80% of your results. Then with regard to direction, you've then got to look at mentorship. I don't know very many successful businesses over a long period of time that haven't had not just one, but often 2 or 3 mentors, depending on where the guidance is needed. You're going to make mistakes in business. That's inevitable, but you make a hell of a lot less if you've got a good mentor. And the amount of mistakes you make are actually going to dictate how successful you may be. And I have seen businesses, I've had personal experience where a good mentor would have made the difference. So you've got to get your ego out of the way, and you've got to be prepared to ask for help. So this is another area that I'm going to cover in this talk, and I hope you get a lot of value out of it. I'm looking forward to it. If we go back, I'm just going to remind you of these 7 fundamentals, because when you come along, I want you to have thought about all 7 of these fundamentals, even though I'm going to be focusing on the direction side of things. So let's look at it again. So obviously number 1, direction, mindset, and we can include leadership in that. Number 2, clarity of your idea. Number 3 is understanding your market. Number 4 is clarity of your margins. Number 5 is capability. Number 6 is scalability. And finally, number 7 is mapping out, understanding your risks, and then having clear strategies to mitigate those risks. I'm looking forward to seeing you at the event, and I'm sure it's going to be a great day. See you there.